So they'll be calling you a radical. That's me and Mary. So I should have done this video a long time ago. This is the famous Weber State Public University, class of 1996, Clyde Cooley's finance department. Before Warren Buffett stole the school business, before they shredded it to shreds, the number one exit scores in American history to this day. To this day. Now remember, this is the class of 96. So this is when Elon Musk is going to Wharton. Wharton's our sister school. Clyde Cooley's the number one finance professor in the country. This is my house that I built while I was going to school. Talk about shred my life. So, a public school beating Wharton, beating Harvard, beating Yale, beating Stanford, beating every one of them. I was the student professor there. This is the highest score. This is right out of Clyde Cooley's mouth. The number one finance professor in the country, bar none. No one even close. The highest score ever given by Clyde Cooley on his 320. Now, this is important. That dude was vicious. That's my French professor. A letter of recommendation. That's the legend himself, Rod Ulander. Letter of recommendation from Rod Ulander. Fuck, what a great the political science professor. That's my counselor. I had two counselors, Michael Cooper, and Shannon Sharp's auntie was my other counselor. I have a letter of recommendation for her. I also have the last letter of recommendation ever written. That's it right there. By Clyde Cooley. I didn't get it till a year after I graduated. So that's a handwritten letter by him. So it's historic and it's important that I get this up in history because these rats, what they did. And they're fucking rats. So I was a BIS guy. I was doing biology and fine art and finance. So Clyde Cooley, the genius that he was, when I got that score on that test, I believe it was my junior year. I don't know how he found out where I was working because I own Blanche Plastering. I was working up in the Ogden Valley doing a job. Stucco job. He got in his car and he drove. I don't know how he even knew where I was at. I was doing a house up there. And here he comes and he pulled up on my job site. I had my whole crew going. I'm up there with my hawk and trowel plastering. Which back in those days, I had a sidewalk pass and I would walk around. I remember my French professor says, "Never seen anything like you. You walk out of my class and I see you up on the scaffold with different clothes." Yeah, I can walk and chew gum at the same time. So he drove up there, Dr. Cooley, and he says, "I need to talk to you. This is important." He says, "I've done a lot of work on you. I know your background. You know, your biology, your fine art. This is the highest score I've ever given." He says, "You got the best finance mind." I says, "Well, I started trading cattle futures in the Ogden yards at 14 years old." "Yeah, I can tell. I know. You need to be a finance major. You know, you can go anywhere you want." No. I got my hawk and trowel in my hand. I'm going to stay biology, whatever. So he begged me, and he talked me into it. So I officially graduated in 96, Bachelor of Art, with a BA in finance. huge biology background. This number one, it's so important because my counselor was Shannon Sharps, the football player's auntie. Oh, God, she was the best. That's from her. She did a lot for me, man. She knew who I was. Here's a public state university that's number one in the country. So, beating Harvard, beating Princeton, beating Yale, it would go Weber State 1, Wharton 2. Weber State 1, Wharton 2. So, I went to, got me a Wall Street job, kept my plastering business. I was, oh boy, you should have seen those days. I built that house with cash and not a crew. I did that. The colors, whatever. I remember my art professor. I remember when I asked Arthur Adelman, he says, Kev, I want to write you a letter of recommendation, but I don't know how to type. Handwrite me one. I'm cool with it. Jane Catlin says, you can't use green, red, and white. My friend says, watch me. She drove out to see my house. She says, oh my God, it's a masterpiece. They stole that from me. I made this up. Remember Inkley, the photo finishers here in Ogden? I mean, they were legendary. In 2011, I had that made up off a photograph for my funeral. I was given 2 months to live with AML leukemia. Now, remember, so I graduate in my class, the number one, there's only a handful of us, and I mean a handful of us. I mean, talk about some geniuses. Oh boy. By the way, Mary, that girl was brilliant, and I mean brilliant. So, I'm very successful at what I do, making my way in life. I come back. Weber State they don't have an MBA program. They lobby because Clyde Cooley's department has the number one exit source for 7, 8, 9 consecutive years. And everybody's like, what the hell? I remember being on Wall Street. This guy comes up to me and he says, you really Weber State? Yeah. You Clyde Cooley? Yeah. He says, yeah, I called Clyde, talked to him about you. He says, you want to come work at our firm? I mean, I could literally price options in my head. He says, how is that possible? You guys are a public in Ogden, Utah? Yeah. Yep. I says, we're not only that, we're the number one nursing school in the country. We're one of the number one biology schools in the fucking country. And this is so I come back from Wall Street because all of a sudden the legislator, he gets through. They says, okay, we're giving Weber State an MBA program. It's going to be Clyde Cooley's baby. I mean, it's going to be historic. I'm like, oh boy, I'm coming home. I got my plaster business still here and there a little bit. My boss says, you can work out of the lab. I talked to Dr. Cooley about it. You can do your trading, because all I did was roll puts underneath high dividend yield stocks. It was that easy, but I was a derivative arbitrage guy. I would find an arbitrage. I would exploit. By the way, I remember exploiting SunPower. Those crooks, I see they just went bankrupt, and they were crooks then. I mean, I could write a book on just, I used to call the CBOE, Chicago Board of Options Trade, when I wasn't working. When I was working, but not on that floor, I would call them on the phone. And they knew me by voice. There was no caller ID. There was anything. They'd say, oh, Mr. Blanche. They recognized the voice. What are you looking for today? I says, hey, Connexton, can you give me some 125 calls and some 75 puts? What expiration? Let's go June. Can you write those for me? Every time they were out the next day. Every time. I mean, that's how powerful I was with what I did. I built that house with cash. Self-made, never inherited a fucking penny. So I come home. I'm going to get that first MBA. So I called the secretary constantly. No, Kevin, there's no A's yet. You're going to be, I want the first MBA there. Okay, this is the fall of, late August 1999. So I walk in to the MBA program, and there's a guy named Kyle Madsen down there. I says, "Where's Clyde Cooley? Haven't you heard?" What do you mean, what haven't I heard? 2 weeks before the MBA program, 2 weeks, some virus attacks his brain. I mean, he was in 68 years old, the most perfect condition you ever seen. I mean, I remember the joke was, Clyde's got his master's jacket on. He'd come when he got his green jacket, he'd call spot tests. I mean, out of nowhere, out of blue. And I remember his line, "Okay, Mr. Blanche, your time in the barrel." He would call you up, and he had this podium. He'd sit directly right across you like a board of directors, just glare at you and get up there, and he'd throw a case study at you and say, "Okay, go. One one ah." I mean, international students from all over the world, the best in the world, was a full grade and just, he was that vicious, intense. I want that first MBA. By the way, that's right there on 39th in Washington, Junes. I built that. That's plaster and stucco. That's me. I made that, sculpted it, and that's 3D. That's tore down. It's an ice cream shop now. So, I want that first MBA. Where's Clyde? Haven't you heard a virus has attacked his brain? What? You just, I don't know. What are you talking about? So Kyle Madsen, thrown to the wolves. Kyle Madsen was a good guy. I really liked him. But he's begging me. He says, he was in so far over his head. I mean, this is the number one MBA program in the fucking country. There's no way. So he's begging me to help him. You know, you're his protege. You're his guy. You know. You got to help me teach this. I don't have a fucking MBA. How can I? We'll work with you. We'll make a deal with you. Everybody that was involved. You know, we'll give you the first MBA, like you said. Well, I'll learn that. So, in 2000, Warren Buffett rolls in. That's right, the Warren Buffett. I'm like, what the hell? So, he's going to donate. Bill Childs at R.C. Willey's has sold R.C. Willey's to Warren Buffett. He's going to donate yellow shares to Weber State. I'm like, the water swat. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't take it. I'm telling everybody up there, including the dean, Mike, all of them. Don't take that money. We don't need it. Don't do it. So all of a sudden, the state of Utah, via China, comes up with this idea. They want a supply chain university. Clyde Cooley would have, they were trying that for years. Clyde Cooley would have none of it. Neither would Rod Ulander. Have none of it. Oh, hell no. You know, we were protectionists. You know, we taught tariffs. So Buffett's trying to hijack our school business. So he says, okay, we're going to start flying students back to the Berkshire Hathaway shareholder meeting. So Mike, the dean, asked me, Vaughn, you want to go, Kevin? Not really. I really don't want to go. It's 2000. So let's back up 99. So I helping Kyle run the show. Remember, this is the number one school of business in the United States for several years in a row. There's marquee international students from all over the world in this program. So we go to Comdex. I go to Comdex with this friend of mine, this girl that I know, and we go to Comdex in November. I get back and I tell Kyle Madsen, he's 99. How's Clyde doing? Oh, didn't I tell you? Haven't you heard? Heard what? He died. What? You didn't email me? I was so pissed. Oh, you don't even know how pissed I was because I didn't get to go to his funeral. He dropped dead like that. I was so suspicious about it. So the state of Utah started bringing in these professors from China. You know, you can look up the picture of Lee himself right there in front of the school business where the AP has come out this year and accused them of selling state secrets to China. The Chinese influence that's gone on points to one place, the Weber State School of Business. You know, I used to, talk to Lee all the time, and I'm like, I always felt Clyde Cooley's freaking death was very, very suspicious. I always felt like it was suspicious. I always did. So, okay, I'll go. I fly in Bill Child's Learjet back to Omaha. We get to go to the Yellow meeting, which that's where all the very, very rich, they invite us. So, whoop-de-doo. Not fucking impressing me. They're selling all kinds of, $100 million paintings all over. It's a yuck meeting. Well, here comes Buffett with his entourage, which is all his bodyguards. And I was never impressed by Buffett. So he comes through, and this entourage looks like an offensive line of NFL. Of course, none of them are African-American descent. They're all, look like they're right at all the University of Nebraska Cornhuskers football team, which they probably were. So I walk through and I says, this is 2000. He's having the horrible freaking year in his fund because of he refused to buy .com stocks, including Amazon, by the way. I says, Mr. Buffett, I says, you know what I say about you having a bad year? And he was snooty. What the fuck does that mean? I says, even Babe Ruth had slumps, and I just blew him off and walked off. So I walk off, and Kyle's like, hey, all the other students are like, hey, he's waving you back. He's waving you back. And I look over there, and he's all grinning here. Come here. So he's got his photographer. And he puts his arm around me and takes all these pictures. So they send him. He autographs them. Blah, blah. They come in the mail. They hang on the wall in the infamous School of Business. I'm helping run that program. So I'm doing it. Kyle's in over his head big time. So I'm fighting against them going supply chain. Fighting tooth and nail. No way. I'm banning them, blocking the legislature. Well, they're bringing these Chinese professors. This is the same Chinese professor, not Lee, her, who, you can look it up, infamously said, forbid students and Utah legislators to go see the Dalai Lama when he came. Yeah. I'm like, oh my God, I'm just having a fit. I'm up against Levitt, the governor, then, the attorney general's in. Oh God, they're worse than the one now. Shirtliff. And it was just a nightmare. So all these bootlickers at Weber State, now that Cooley was gone, it's like, no, Blanche, let's do it. No. So they blackballed me. This fight went on for 5 years. I'm trading, clear into 2000. Then Kyle Madsen, non-smoker, by the way, non-smoker, good LDS guy. Out of nowhere, he gets cancer. What? Lung cancer. Mowed him down and killed him. By the way, so did his wife, just right after that. He had taught at the University of Syracuse, and he and I had many conversations about this because I'm the anti-nuclear. Now, remember, this is the Wattis School business. Yes, that Wattis, the CEO of General Electric. Utah Construction and Wattis Merch, who built the nuclear reactors, Clyde Cooley to Kevin Blanch. Kevin, you keep going after the nuclear industry on, because I'm doing the due diligence on the reactors and, how expensive. And he says, you keep going after them. This is the Wattis School, but these monsters are going to come after you. You do know they're going to come out. I said, I don't give a fuck. I was so self-confident. I was a self-made fucking multimillionaire then. I didn't care. What be fucking do? I'm not afraid of those fucks. And he says, I'm telling you, they don't play nice. I says, oh, neither do I. Fuck them. So the fight's on. I'm the guy protecting it. So they start to blackball me. People inside there start to play games with me. Well, you don't have, yeah, I'm teaching the NBA. We got a deal. So anyway, they won, I lost. It flips to supply chain. Now, they are under investigation. How do you go from first to worst? Look it up. They're under investigation by the FBI for selling state secrets to fucking China. The AP does a fucking piece. One place points to an unlikely source, Utah, the Weber State School of Business. They I told the fucking dean recently, well, you kicked the fucking Michael Jordan off the team like the Bulls did in the same area. And this is 1999 because I'm working with Coach Baglin, why I'm teaching, why I'm freaking graduating, why I'm going to school, this whole era. The 95 class, Ruben Nemhart, that's when I got that test, Jimmy Graffiti, we upset Michigan State. It was a fluke Hail Mary. We lost to Basketball Metaphors Matter to Allen Iverson in 95. Then the 99 team. What a metaphor, right? This is when the NBA started, the 99 team. Harold Arsenault on the show. Gil, we upset North Carolina. We should have beat freaking that Florida team, lost in overtime. I'm with the president of the university. He grew up out here. I know him personally. I'm sitting with him the morning after the Florida game, and I said, you really can't fire the Baglin. Kevin, Paul Thompson. We are going to become the Ivy League of public universities. I said, what do you mean going to become? We already are. This is legend, this university. Legend. So they go after me. They blackball me. They attack me viciously. So finally, 2005, I'm like, fuck you, I'm out of here. They owe me so much fucking money to this day. What they've done to me, they never gave me the fucking first NBA. Well, do I really want it now? What they did to me, my credentials there as long as your fucking leg and arm. They played every dirty trick in the fucking world on me. Now, who was right? Look it up. Under investigation by the FBI for selling state secrets. So all those bootlickers that were there, they said, Clyde was old. He was 68 years old. Perfect fucking shape. I've always felt that his death was suspicious. So this needs to go into the domain. I had 3 little girls then when I was going to school. And there's my 3 beautiful little daughters. 1996 on graduation day. That vacant lot's not even there now. I was practicing my IT skills to go to teach in Europe, most likely Austria. I got cancer. By the way, they could have paid for my leukemia treatment. They didn't. One of the few times in my life I was naked without insurance. I was a self-made millionaire. As you know on YouTube, I had you buying Apple and Tesla of all things in 2011. What do you think that stock portfolio? I had $1 million worth of that. I had to fork it over to get in the bone marrow transplant, and the rest is infamous history. Open heart surgery twice, pacemaker, in critical condition, and I was always the anti-nuclear activist. Always. Still am. Talk about a view to a kill. This is important because it's historic what this class did. This is the highest. The class of 1996 is the highest exit test, the #1 school of business in the country, the highest exit test in finance and business schools to this day. To this day. It's my class. Fucking stand up to these fuckers. And they rolled our school. They rolled us. They got it. How do you go from first to worst? Ask Michael Jordan when they kicked him off the fucking Bulls. I was at that game. My ticket's right there behind this. What was that? 97, 98, right? June of 98, wasn't it? Well, they won in 97 too. Kick him off. What happened to the Bulls? Oh, they fucking suck. It's an important video. They took my fucking house. I built that house with cash. What they did to me, well, Vlad was right. Shenandoah with the Nuclear Energy Crime Syndicate. They played dirty. It's an important video. They played dirty. I'm still here. And I'm still doing my work. The greatest PhD in human history. Ongoing. The Great Pacific Genocide. My fight goes on. Stay in tune.